Hello, hello. Welcome back to Unfertile to Unfiltered. We are on episode 3, and it's Simona taking over this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever you're listening. But today we have Vicki, and she's going to be sharing her amazing journey with infertility and her journey to her daughter. So, if without further ado, if you would like to take it away, Vicky, here we go.
Sure. Thank you so much for that beautiful little introduction. I appreciated it. I appreciated it. So my story starts out on a winter day. I was born on a Wednesday. I was just kidding. Wouldn't that have been hilarious if I went that way, though? I told Simona, I said, listen, you know that I'm going to have to bring some humor to mine because you know what? Humor was something that I really lacked during my fertility
Hmm.
journey. I will tell you that. I was so serious. Um, it was amazing. I don't think I even realized that I had lost that along the way. Um, and
Yeah.
so I found it again, and that's really important to me. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. But on a real note, you know, I recognize that even though Simone and I have our fertility journey, as a similarity in our friendship, that our stories are very different.
Yeah,
Similar but different, right? And
absolutely.
so when I think about where I started with my fertility journey, it goes back a little bit. And I'll tell you, I didn't always connect the dots. So I will start out by saying when I was 21, I had a cyst that turned into a benign tumor on the left side of my reproductive system. Did I not ever tell you this?
Oh my God. I mean, my brain, I probably forgot. You definitely told me. I mean, I need ginkgo biloba.
So
But Jesus, I can't
I
believe that
know.
at
So
21.
so I remember I remember, not ever feeling like I had to worry about having kids or any of the above. And I think back now where I'm like, I probably should have been advocating for myself a little bit earlier in life, right? So,
Hmm.
what I do recognize is because I had this benign tumor, the left side of my reproductive system, so my fallopian tubes and my left ovary were removed. I was 21. I actually missed out, sad comment, I missed out on my undergraduate graduation because
Oh,
I was in such discomfort and pain that they were like, we want to get this out as soon as possible. And the soonest that they could do it was on that day. And I was like, I would rather have this because it was extremely painful. I was like, I would rather have this out of my body and make sure that like all is good instead of me just
oh my
sitting
God.
in like, a graduation ceremony. But the sweet thing is when I did finally come home from the hospital after my surgery, my mom and my dad and my sister um, and actually I was with my husband at the time, but we were not married. We were just dating, had gotten me a little graduation cake. So it was really sweet and
Oh,
adorable.
that's nice.
But
Oh my
because
gosh.
that happened, there was never a discussion around, hey, should we do IVF with this young woman and try to get her some frozen eggs beforehand in case this could cause any fertility issues in the future? But I was always told there are many women who get pregnant with one um, ovary, and that's not something you ever have to worry about. And actually, I know some people who have, and so I really did just trust in that process. Well, that's just obviously not what the universe or God had in store for me, right? So, my husband and I were married in 2012. We were casually starting to plan for a family probably in 2013 once we got our house. Um, and not no success, no success. We had no success. I remember going to the OB and actually I was joking and I was like, yeah, we're trying, but like nothing is happening. And I remember her looking at me being like, but like, how long have you been trying? Because I was like, oh, I'm just like kind of joking and, whatever. And I remember saying, oh, like it's probably been, 6 months to a year. And she's like, nothing, like no scares, no. And I was like, no. And she's like, okay, I have some concerns about that. And I think because I had already had at that point the loss of my left, ovary and fallopian tube, they're probably like, maybe I was a little bit more on her radar. So long story short, she was like, I think we should go ahead and do a referral to a reproductive clinic. And I was like, this is odd. This is strange, but like, okay. So in 2014 is actually when my relationship with, at that time, as me and Simona had discussed in our previous episode, was known as RMA, and they are now Illume. And I had my first appointment with Dr. Williams. He is, okay, listen, and if Dr. Williams is listening, this is probably not, but if you are, he was always known as the Silver Fox. Such a gem of a man. Every client or woman that I've come across is like, that man. I'm like, you don't have to tell
Mr.
me.
Williams,
I
huh?
know.
Dr.
Good
Williams.
looking man. Good looking man. Amazing doctor. Yes.
It's always nice
So
to look at, you know?
oh wait, come on. You need, like, you're going through fertility treatments. You need
Need
some
something.
joy in any little moment. So in 2014, I remember I was actually at work. I was working in a hospital on an inpatient psychiatric unit. And let me just tell you, after that phone call, I thought that I probably needed to belong there.
Oh,
But in 2014, I received the diagnosis of premature ovarian insufficiency, which is a really fancy way of saying that when I was born, I already had a lesser amount of eggs in my reserve than other women. And so then on top of that, going through the surgery of removing that benign tumor on the left side of my reproductive system, also obviously diminished my eggs too. So it's hard to say, was I genetically already having this ovarian failure, or was it also because it was more like medically induced from that surgery?
yeah.
It is an answer I will probably never get. And I'm at peace with that. At one point, I wasn't always at peace with that, but I'm at peace with that. But I was diagnosed in 2014. It wasn't until 2016 that we started actual treatments.
And how old were you
And
then?
what did you say?
How old were you then?
Oh, wait, now you're asking me to do math.
Were you
2016,
under
was I like 29? I was maybe 29,
oh
28, 29. So,
wow.
yeah. So I think the biggest thing is 2016, we kind of moved fast. Like you talked in the last episode about the phases, right? And how there's the timed intercourse, and then there is, intrauterine insemination, which is that IUI, and then you go to in vitro fertilization, which is IVF, right? So, and there's like little, I would say like little half steps between all of those.
Yeah.
Well, I think that between 2014 2016, there was a lot of like, hey, can you try to time it? Can you use the ovulation sticks? Like, why don't you guys try as much as you can? I actually found, I don't know if any other woman, I feel like the ovulation tests have evolved significantly since when I
Yes.
had started. But I got to tell you, I was literally doing those little strips and I was like, I cannot understand these at all. It was awful.
Yeah,
It was awful.
they
I remember
are.
like bringing it to my husband's attention, being like, listen,
What is
I don't know
this?
if we're good to go or not, but like, let's just,
Let's just
let's
go.
just do it. Just do it. Can't read this thing. It's like arithmetic to me or something.
It's
Like
so
it's like,
true. Like, why are there so many lines? And weren't there arrows on there too?
oh
Like,
my, yes,
God,
there's arrows.
those
What are
arrows.
the arrows pointing to? I
Give
just
me a
don't
yes or a
know.
no.
I mean, listen, it was so frustrating. But like, I think what was good is that it gave us the time to digest the information, because there was a grief that came with that, right? So
Mhm.
I'm sure even with you receiving any type of fertility diagnosis, there's so many different emotions that compound it, right? So there's like shame and there's guilt and there's like, and when I say guilt, I will say like more so because like, how did I treat my body before this? Like, was I always taking the best of care of it? Um,
Yeah.
and so I think that like for me, it was like I needed to digest that this was going to be a part of my journey, right? And I think I was like a bit in denial and I didn't really understand it that much. But there was a level of grief for sure. And I think 2014 into 2015 was really just a time for us to like process that a little bit.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I think my husband and I were like, yeah, okay, but like if worse comes to worse, we're gonna do IVF, sorry. Um, and all will work out. Because honestly, there weren't a lot of people that I knew at that time who were doing IVF and not having it work out.
Yeah.
So it was a guarantee. I mean, I remember having that conversation. Oh, worst comes to worst, we'll do IVF. We'll definitely get a baby that way. Okay.
Hmm.
So 2016, we started with, because we'd done the timed intercourse and all the above, nothing was working. So they're like, let's start with an IUI. As you had explained in the previous episode, a lot of insurance companies need you to go through the steps before they
Yeah.
authorize for the next level of care.
Right.
Okay. I can respect it. I don't always agree with it as a therapist, as a human being, but whatever. So we did 2 IUIs, no success. And, the doctors were always very real with me. That is one thing that I will say. And I don't know if that's at every clinic, but I felt like Dr. Williams from the beginning was like, listen, the likelihood, especially with a diagnosis of premature ovarian insufficiency, there's a higher likelihood of you needing to go the IVF route, right? Like this is just a formality. We have to do it for your insurance. But
Hmm.
I was like hopeful, right? Like I still had a
Yeah.
lot of hope in me, even for the IUIs. I remember
Good for
like
you.
going on like a friend trip and being like, I can't go tubing, guys. It was like a snow trip, like a winter trip, and I was like, I can't go like snow tubing. I could be pregnant, and like clearly was not, like
Yeah.
that was not the case. But yeah, I mean, 2016 kind of really started our journey into the IVF world. And let me just tell you, like, I have been on every level of IVF that you can imagine, right? From like microdosing, which is they actually do smaller amounts of the medications, to the max dosages for the medications.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Oh my goodness, they try everything.
Wow.
Everything.
I mean, I knew that there was different dosage for depending on your health history and your diagnosis and anything other things that were going on, but so explain that more. What do you mean microdosing and
Oh,
then
okay.
max?
So, okay, maybe microdosing, be just because I hear that terminology now all the time is
Yeah,
not the right term, but it was a low dose of some of these medications.
right.
So when you have medications like, and I want to say some of these because those of you who are listening who have gone through fertility, you're going to know what medications I've been on. I even
Yeah.
wrote them down. That's how prepared I was. But Lupron, Ganirelix,
Hmm.
uh, Gonal, Gonal F, remember that? Gonal F?
Yes, yes.
Follistim, Menopur, Avadra, the Lupon trigger injection.
Oh,
I remember I was even on Medrol to reduce inflammation in my system. And then, of course, like when you actually are going through the process of then having embryo transfer, you're on estradiol, progesterone in oil, the
mhm.
progesterone suppositories. Now, let me tell you, listeners,
Oh my God,
the worst
the
thing ever
suppositories. Oh,
is a suppository that just makes you feel physically and emotionally so yucky, but then
hmm.
literally can ruin clothes. I mean, we are talking
Yeah,
about like, not to be, graphic in any ways, but like it is just,
gross.
yeah, it's gross. And it's not a clean process. I'll tell you that. It's just
No.
not, it is not a clean experience. So I will just say that they would take some of those dosages and they would actually, there was a theory that maybe for people who navigated premature ovarian insufficiency, which by the way, that's a nice way that they say it. In the past, it was actually called premature ovarian failure. Let me tell
Oh,
you, yes, girl, yes.
that's rough.
It's so rough. It
Just
is
like
so
the
rough.
word miscarriage, I think that needs to be changed too.
Oh, I agree
Yes,
with you on that.
right? That's
I
for another
agree.
topic, another day.
Yeah, no, that's another one. But
But wow.
um, they would take the lower, there was a theory of like, do we, these medications can be very exhausting for your system, but also specifically for the brain connection, right, to your ovaries. So, especially with a diagnosis like premature ovarian insufficiency, your FSH levels tend to be high. What that is telling is that the brain is actually sending a signal to your ovary of like, you got to pump these eggs out. We got to ovulate. We got to get a baby. And the ovary is like, but I have two eggs left, or I have only a few eggs and I have to reserve them, right? And
Right.
so your FSH levels are higher because there's this miscommunication that's happening in your body. And so the theory of smaller doses was, can we actually not get those FSH levels too high? Because that's what a lot of these fertility medications can also do, because it actually wants to promote more egg development, right? And listen, like I read so many books. I've done a deep dive into this diagnosis and feel like I have a very strong knowledge base around it, right? Because it's obviously
Yeah,
something that I navigate within my own body. But I will say that it is challenging, and it is challenging even in like a non-fertility way, right? Because it puts me in a current perimenopause. So that's always fun. And that's a whole nother layer of fertility. I'm sorry, not fertility,
yeah,
hormones that I am currently exploring at this point in my life. And so, and that is obviously a conversation I'm going to save for a different episode when we really dive in a little bit more to like the hormones that we navigate as women and,
yeah,
just our experiences with our hormones now. Cause you and I both also have journeys, I think, that are still ongoing with that.
for sure.
So, that is one thing that I will say that I've noticed is that even with my fertility, it doesn't just go away, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, like even when you have the baby, like it doesn't, or how many children you have, there are still underlying reasons that your reproductive system is not
Yes.
working at its best,
Right. Absolutely.
right?
Because so you had that diagnosis from the get-go. That was from when you were 21. You got that diagnosis?
21. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, no, I didn't get that until 2014.
Oh,
So, yeah,
wow.
so when I
Oh,
first went to RMA, when I was going through the benign tumor at 21, they were like, no, you're a healthy 21-year-old. There's nothing we have to worry about in regards to reproductive issues.
jeez. Oh my God.
Hmm.
That's crazy. That's a problem right there.
Totally, totally. Um, so 2016, we started our IVF. We continued IVF basically until we were able to conceive my daughter in, it's so funny because your daughter was born in 2020, and I think about the fact that like our embryo transfer was December 15th of 2020.
Oh, wow.
And it was so funny because we found out on December 23rd
That's right.
that I was pregnant. And so I was like, oh my gosh. But in before that, so like that's just like to kind of let you know that like, yes, we did end up having my daughter, and she is going to be 4 at the end of August, and she's a beautiful, fiery soul. But I will say that like in the midst of that, like in 2016, we had gone through a chemical pregnancy. I'd mentioned in episode 2, like I was not an egg producer, and it was really, it just really backed up that diagnosis of the premature ovarian insufficiency. I'm going to shorten that to POI so that I don't have to keep saying that over and over
Mhm.
again for all of you. That's kind of like the little jargon in the POI community. And there is actually a community. It's a small community in regards to like other people who are going through different fertility issues, but we have our community. But we ended up really struggling. I mean, we really did. We struggled. We had to take time off. I went through the ringer emotionally. I'm very sensitive to hormones. Even now, I'm very sensitive to hormones from like a mood perspective. It can really pique my anxiety and it can bring me to like low lows if my hormones are unbalanced. And that was a huge learning lesson for me in my fertility journey that I kind of wanted to use this episode to highlight a little bit of like advocacy, right? And that I didn't probably advocate enough for myself to say, I need to take this break. I need to do certain things. I need to try a more holistic approach. But I'm going to be honest, I tried every holistic approach. I read every
Yeah.
book about how to improve egg quality. I tried everything to identify and figure out how could I just make this work.
Because
And
that's
I
what we
think that it's,
do. We question ourselves and we try
oh
and
yeah,
figure it all out. And we drive
oh
ourselves
yeah,
crazy for that.
totally. And I think for me, it felt very lonely because it was my medical issue that I was navigating and it
Mhm.
wasn't any issues with Joe. And that's my husband. And that was, I think, a very hard area in our marriage to not feel like I was lashing out because like I'm going to like deem it as like the problem.
Yeah. That's so hard. That's so difficult.
So hard. So hard. And like, like I said, we had many times of, going back and forth and really just talking a lot about like, what does life look like if we can't get pregnant?
Right.
Is it
Right.
adoption? Is it being, choosing to be childless?
Hmm.
There were tough conversations that came from my journey that I think we both needed to consistently have as we were going through it. Specifically talking about what would our life look like? What would we then maybe want to throw ourselves into in regards to like hobbies or more extensive traveling or whatever it was to fill our cup where maybe our cup wouldn't be filled by a child. I remember when I got the news of the chemical pregnancy. It's very vivid in my head. Like I remember being in my house currently, standing. I don't know why. I was like, my mother was in the home, my husband was at work, and I remember like standing by like the wall, going up like the stairs, and I was just like leaning into the wall, and I was sobbing, like this mournful sob. And I just remember like all of a sudden it was like this light switch where I was like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like a little bit of like a self-protection in that moment, but I was like, I need to figure out how I can be happy even if I don't have a child. Yeah.
In that exact moment.
Yes.
Gosh.
And I think you did such a great job in episode 2 talking very specifically about like the medical process of fertility, right? And I think probably because I'm a therapist, I wanted to zoom in a little bit more on the emotional here, right? And how I went through all the treatments, right? Like for all of you who are going through treatments, like I can understand this and respect this because I've been there. I've done the injections. I've had the bruises on my stomach. I mean, I remember feeling shame if like a family member saw my bruises, right? Because I was like changing or something like that.
Yeah.
And just feeling very like ugly and uncomfortable in my body. I mean, really, you talked
Yes.
about like weight gain and bloat. It felt like I
Hmm.
was constantly, it was a little bit of like a mind mess because when you're going through fertility treatments, And those are hormones, right? So these are not
Yeah.
just like, these are medications that are meant to stimulate, right? So it is
Right.
pumping your body with all of these different, you know, compounds and medicines, and
Mm-hmm.
you're having
God knows what.
reactions to them and you're getting blown. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I put on, I think, close to 15 pounds in a matter of just a year. I don't know
Oh,
if you
I think I put
remember,
on like
but
20 over the matter
yeah,
of like, I mean,
it's a
you know, if you
lot.
think about it, like 2016, I mean, we would take a little break here or there, but as you also said, you were kind of, you just go into like a robotic mode and you're like, okay, I'm just going to keep moving. I'm just going to keep moving.
Yeah.
I described this to a client recently, and I said, fertility treatments and fertility clinics, unfortunately, are kind of like a rushing river, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's very easy to say, okay, I'm just jumping in and letting them take you. And I
Hmm.
think the biggest thing that I learned from this process, even to this day, is boundary setting and being
Yeah.
able to say, this is my max. This is the extent in which I'm going to go. This is my boundary, and I'm saying no from here on out.
Yeah.
I didn't do that enough. It put me into bad places emotionally. And even though I'm a therapist, I struggled so much with being able to communicate my sadness,
Mm.
right? Because people hear therapist and they're like, oh, well, like you were probably doing the work. Yeah, I was definitely going to therapy. I was doing some really beautiful soul work. With my yoga instructor, actually. She's phenomenal, and I still connect with her
I
to this
remember
day.
it. It's right.
She's amazing. And I
But
just like, but I, go ahead.
it's different when it's you. When you're taking care of other people, I feel like that goes without being told. Like, but I feel like we're harder on ourselves and we don't always think about all of our needs first, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine processing that while also being a therapist and listening to other people and helping them as you're going through all of these difficulties yourself. That,
It,
uh,
I always send out love and positive vibes to my clients who were who are still seeing me to this day, but also like some who were navigating me during that time of my fertility, right? Who
yeah,
I listen as a therapist, like if you're my client and if you're listening, you know that I'm a very authentic, I'm a vulnerable person. And I believe that the true healing that is done in therapy is being able to show vulnerability and authenticity as one human being to another, right?
yeah,
And so I'm never going to, as a therapist, present myself as not having issues. Of course, I have boundaries and I'm professional, but there were times that I'd be profusely sweating from my hormones being so unbalanced and having to actually like acknowledge I'm on some medicines right now that are just like having a physical reaction. I'm having a physical reaction too, right? And it was embarrassing, but the love and the happiness or the kindness, the understanding of those clients during those times. I mean, it was beautiful. It was amazing to just see them be supportive without knowing necessarily what they were being supportive of, right? I think now at this time, I've been very transparent with clients, especially when they're coming to me for fertility, of what my journey has been. And so they know and they can really understand and relate, um, and I think even some looking back are like, oh, that's what was going on with you during that time, right? Um, it was very hard to hold space for them and for myself, but I did it.
yeah. Wow. Yeah, that I can't imagine like the day to day. And I think that's also really powerful and really, really nice where that you shared you also went through fertility treatments with your patients because not always all therapists share their personal information, but I feel like
Yeah.
that is so important and comforting, and such a deeper connection when you share just a little bit, so that they know that they're not alone,
Yeah,
even in their therapy
absolutely.
sessions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was actually, looking back at it now, I think it has actually at times been more comfortable to share with a client or even a random, not like a random person, but if I find out that someone's also going through like a specific journey versus even like people who are close to me, right? Because people who were close to me, I'll speak to this piece especially, they struggled with knowing how to best support me, right? So like my family during this time that I was going through fertility, my sister got pregnant with her first. She had my first nephew. Even before I got pregnant with my daughter, she got pregnant again. She had my second nephew. There were just certain things that were happening, right? Like younger cousins or friends getting pregnant when we couldn't, and we'd been trying for so long, or getting pregnant 2 to 3 times before we even were pregnant the first time. That was
Yep.
probably the strangest concept for me, is that I'm like, oh my gosh, you're already on your third when I'm now just having my first.
Yeah. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure you can count all the times that you were at a baby shower or something at some event and somebody announces they're pregnant and you run off to the bathroom crying. I mean, that
Yeah.
happened multiple times for me. Yeah.
I don't even know. You know what's so funny? I think that like I would allow myself to cry very scarcely.
Really?
That's what I'm saying. It's very interesting to me when I look back at that, at who Vicki was during her fertility. Man, I was an IVF warrior for sure, but that warrior aspect made me think that I had to always be like externally strong
Mm-hmm.
and put together, but
Mm-hmm.
internally I was like crumbling, right?
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense that at the same time I was navigating such bad anxiety
Yeah.
because um I was not actually processing what I was feeling. I was not processing the trauma. I was not processing the emotionality of it all. I was caught up in the river. I really was.
Yeah.
And I think I've evolved so much that I feel so much for that younger version of myself, and wish that I could have given her more of the skills that I have now, or not even the skills because I had them back then, but the confidence and the
Yeah.
desire to be more vulnerable and authentic in my life because
Mm-hmm.
that was too terrifying for me to do at that time.
Yeah, I hear you on that for sure.
Yeah.
That was so beautifully stated.
Thank you.
You're very, very good with your words.
Oh, I thank you. I just, I think that is very interesting. I always like kind of reflect back on this. I remember that something that had obviously brought us together was you had posted, I remember it was a reel, and it was a reel about your dad, and it was a reel about your fertility, and it was probably one of like the first reels that I was like looking at, and I was like, oh, look at Simona, like she's posting about her fertility. And meanwhile, I had already been going through fertility for some years, like fertility treatments. And it gave me some courage to be able to say, like, I can talk about this a little bit more, even on like a social media platform, which is not always the most comfortable, right? But I
Right.
can talk about this a little bit more, and I can handle whatever feedback I get. I can handle whatever emotions that
Mhm.
triggers. And I don't have to be scared of that anymore. So I do appreciate you a lot for, I think, pushing me without even knowing you were pushing me outside of my comfort zone a little bit to say, it's okay to own it. Here's
Oh,
someone else who owned it, and they're being met with love and compassion, and it doesn't have to be so scary. And that's something I always want any of our listeners to hear, whether it's fertility or anything, that like we don't have
yeah.
to be scared of these tough or challenging times,
Right.
and we're truly not in it by ourselves.
Right. Well, I'm so glad that that helped you, that what I posted helped you, because that's truly what I feel like what I share on social
Yeah.
media is the purpose behind that. But I can't take credit for that, because the same scenario is why I felt exactly how you felt, like supported and not alone and not scared, right? I think like we do feel scared, but a friend who was also quoted in my book, a girl that we went to high school with, she had posted a video as well when I was in the middle of my journey,
Yeah.
and it was on Facebook, and she had shared how her and her partner had gone through all of these treatments, and she listed out the number of shots and all of that she went through in order to get pregnant. And I was just the same way, like eye-opening, like, oh my God, somebody else is going through this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you truly feel like no one else. I mean, again, this was like, 7 years ago, but yeah, you feel totally alone and scared of what other people are going to think, or what you're going to look like, whatever. Um, so in that retrospect, again, we're going to thank social media for
Yeah.
helping us
Yes. Yes.
feel less alone. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad that helped you, because
It
that's
did.
that's what we need to do is with this podcast as well, like just to help
Absolutely.
each other and make those connections and feel less alone.
Well, and it actually caused me to pivot a little bit in my profession, which
Yeah.
was kind of cool. Um, it allowed me, so one of my specialty areas has always been anxiety disorders. But I started to evolve, and I evolved to becoming specialized in trauma, and I'm EMDR certified. For those of you who don't know, that's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a therapy technique that is kind of the gold standard these days for trauma. And it is a somatic experience. So it like also takes into account like the body. And so it's not just like some of the other treatment or modalities. It's something that like I really like believe strongly in, and I've seen like beautiful progress in my clients with it. But I was like, how do I also use this EMDR and this anxiety disorder specialty to also help women going through infertility, perinatal, and postpartum distress, right? And obviously other life transitions. And it's just beautifully has evolved in regards to like my clinical growth and passion places, right? Where I'm just like, I can't imagine not working with women now, and specifically working with them wherever they are in their life journey. But like when my mamas come through, and I have a few of them right now, or my ladies come through and they are going through fertility, man, it feels like I'm just able to give back. And that's the best feeling, because there were
Incredible.
definitely times in my journey where people were giving back to me in different ways, right? Whether that
Yeah.
was like my clinical team, right, at RMA, where they were just like giving me words of reassurance, or just trying to kind of hold my hand through the tough times. Which I do just also want to say that, like, at one point we shifted from that wonderful Dr. Williams, and we met our other wonderful, wonderful doctor who was able to successfully support us in getting pregnant, Dr. Josh Hurwitz. And he is amazing, and we're just forever grateful to him. And he was real, and he had tough conversations with us at times, and we needed that, right? But I always felt really, in some ways, these beautiful moments of kindness that were demonstrated to me. And I knew that I wanted to give back. And I knew that I always wanted to, I was like, in what way can I do that? Right. And I'm not creative where I have like an Etsy shop like some here. But I was like, I can use it with the beautiful gift of my profession and my clinical
Absolutely.
skill set.
And that is incredible. I feel like it's probably not ethical for me to be your patient. I want you to do that on me.
No, I'm just your friend. You get the benefits of it without me being your therapist, obviously. Um, but yeah, I just, when we were talking a little bit about like what we wanted episode 2 to focus on and episode 3 with both of
Mhm.
our journeys, I really feel like we're giving this like feedback and this perspective to people of like, yes, there's that whole medical, you
Yes.
know, I, journey. There's also this emotional journey too, right? And
Absolutely.
if I can speak to like the stress that it puts on marriages, like that's not a joke, right?
100.
Like that's
No,
real.
no,
I think,
it is. It's extremely stressful.
it's so stressful. It challenged my husband and I in ways that we didn't think we needed to be challenged.
Mhm.
It also encouraged better communication in some ways, but like there were tough conversations, and not just like about like treatments or what our future would look like if we didn't have a child, but
Mhm.
also like how to feel supported, right? Like how to feel supported by him. We all have our different love languages. And so my love language very easily is words of affirmation and physical touch. And my husband's is acts of service and quality time.
Oh,
So here I was always needing words of affirmation, and he didn't know how to give that to me. And that was causing so many different dynamics in our marriage of like, not only are we going through fertility, are we going to make it out on the other side being
yes.
stronger together or
Yes.
broken down from this?
Hmm. That is the true question. Yes.
It was, right? It was. And
Mhm.
luckily, we are still together and
Mm.
married and navigating, and we're even currently navigating a kitchen remodel. So if that doesn't say,
I mean, wow. And you're still
that,
going strong. So, whoo, you can withstand
yeah, that's
anything.
commitment, man. That's commitment. Seriously. It's like as bad as like putting IKEA furniture together. Like really, like that is commitment.
But
But
that's
that's a
so,
piece. That's a
that
piece.
is.
I talk to clients all the time. I go, if you and your spouse are not in some type of couples counseling, you got to get there. You just have to
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah. And it's hard to like, but it is extremely hard. And I don't think other people like realize how hard it can be on a marriage too. Like
Yeah.
I was talking, let's for, privacy reasons, I'll just say I was talking to someone about someone we knew that had gone through treatments. And we know and see it on social media too. Like
Yeah.
IVF and any treatment doesn't guarantee a baby, right? Like it gives you the possibility, right? But it doesn't always end in a baby.
Absolutely.
And like you had mentioned that, and like I was preparing mentally for just to have one, which I was of course forever grateful for. But when you're in that relationship and things are only continuing to get worse and harder, it puts such a strain on your relationship, and it can break you. I mean, it, like you said, like when you don't have communication, and like also it's very hard to communicate when you're both very, very upset or
Oh, yeah.
frustrated, and the pressure to have sex when in on a certain time frame. That is a lot of pressure, like on both of us, but really on the husband too,
Yeah.
and I don't think that's talked about enough too, and we'll have to do another episode on that as well, because there's
Oh,
also
yeah.
so
Yeah, we
many.
can't dismiss our men. Our men are going
No,
they are in the battlefields too emotionally. Like, that
absolutely.
is something that yes, we are here and we are here to support our fellow mamas and warriors in this world, whatever your journey is, but like we
Yeah,
cannot we cannot dismiss what our men are
them.
going through in this
Yeah,
world too, right? Like that's
for
real.
sure.
Um I think a really big thing to reflect upon is finding your courage in the moments, right? The struggle,
Mhm.
the difficulties, the challenges. And that was something that like found my strength a lot. I found my resilience, but I found my
Yeah.
courage to speak up when things didn't feel right, my courage to um, trust in my higher power. That was something that
Yeah.
like, I mean, listen,
Yes.
I grew up Catholic. I always say, and this is like no offense to anyone who is Catholic, but like I'm a recovering Catholic. I got to be honest. Like I'm sorry. I don't mean disrespect. I think that all religions, um, you know, have their beautiful
Mm-hmm.
aspects. And I think that there are other times that like it put me into a little bit of a box of shame. And so
Mm.
for me, I found a different relationship with my higher power, especially during
Yeah.
my fertility, because I needed it, because I
Right.
didn't know what my purpose was in the midst of all that. Because I had always
Yeah.
thought my purpose growing up was to like get married, become a mom, work, yada, yada.
Yes. So I was going to ask you a couple questions. One of them actually
Yeah.
was, well, some of that, but when you were going through this too, were you open to your family and friends throughout the entire process, or did that come later on in your journey?
Family, yes. Friends, close ones, yes. People who are not in my like, I look at friendships as like circles, right? So like if you're not in my direct like few circles, like you
Yeah.
don't need to know my journey or my story necessarily, right? Like more people are going to probably hear that who are not in my like direct like immediate circle from this
Right.
podcast, right? But I will say that like family always knew I needed that support, I needed that love.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a sister and um, I have my mom, but like we grew up like our household because it was three of us girls and then my dad. It was very female dominated, and so like they're very much my tribe, right? Like we're a little like
Yeah.
triangle there.
Hmm.
And like I needed to have like my tribe with me in this process.
Yeah. Yeah. The support is absolutely needed.
Yes.
And of course, Joe was incredible. I'm sure he and
Yeah, he did all right. He did all right. Okay. We'll give him some credit. He did all
he
right.
knows some good.
He was
Did
good.
he also help you with your all of your injections, or was it just your IVF, like in the back, like hard to reach?
So, yeah, so actually like I was the one who was the injector. You know what? I think
Did
that I
your
like
butt too?
oh my gosh, no. No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
Progesterone and oil because it was like a really hard. I know that people are like, "Oh, I did it." No, I'm not that
Oh, so
flexible. I do
hard.
not have that type of
Wait,
mobility. No, Joe did
too
that. And
tricky.
actually, like, it was something that I think was actually good because I was taking the lead on everything. So, like, listen, I am like, I call myself like, yes, I own my business, I own my practice, but I'm also like the house manager in a lot of ways. And like, I think that I was also like the IVF manager. Like, I totally was on top of, do I need to call the insurance to fight for something here? Do I need to order more of this medication? I was on top of it. I think that it was actually probably a coping mechanism for me in a lot of ways of like,
Mm-hmm.
let me do things that are like tangible that I can actually address versus navigate the emotions.
Okay. And like it was in your
He
control.
Yes. And so like I was the one who did the actual like injections into my like abdomen.
Hmm. Same.
He was the one who helped with the progesterone and oil, which thank goodness because I didn't really want to deal with that anyways. But yeah, he was very helpful in that way.
That's good. That's great. Yeah. I did the same. I would do my injections in my stomach and then he would do my back. It's too hard to reach. There's
Too
too
hard.
too much
Where's
going
that
on.
flexibility? No one's got that flexibility.
No.
There's
And
probably actually tons of you who have flexibility. I just genuinely am not a
literally
very flexible person.
same. I have seen multiple women on Instagram do it themselves. I'm like, what? I mean, they just look in the mirror and I'm like, no, my ass is definitely bigger than that. I can't reach all the way back
So true. It's so
there.
true. Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so I was gonna say, I think you may have mentioned this too. So IVF, you started in about 2016, and then it went through to 2020,
20.
correct?
And I
Wow.
remember that it was so funny. We were preparing for our embryo transfer, which ultimately would become my daughter.
Yeah.
and I got this weird sickness, and it wasn't COVID, right? Because they were like testing me left and right, but I was having high fevers. It must have been
Oh
like a
my
flu. We had just come back from like
goodness.
Vermont. And it like got canceled. And I remember I was so devastated. And I was like, no, we got to move through. We got to move through. I've been on these medications. We need to move through. And I remember Dr. Hurwitz being like, Vicki, like, do it when you're at your best.
Oh,
And like, I needed to hear that because I was so fixated. I'm like, we just got to do it. We just got to do it. And I'm glad that I waited. I'm glad that I
yeah.
waited. My body was not ready for it at that moment. I was clearly navigating some type of a virus.
Yeah.
And emotionally,
But
I needed
still,
that
that has
break.
to have been so hard. I mean, I know I can, and I'm sure other people can relate. Like when you're fixated on this is a plan and you have every single date after that planned out for like this is
Yes.
going to happen, then X, Y, and Z is going to happen. And then
Yes.
all of that gets thrown out the window. That's crushing.
It is.
Um,
Oh, it was crushing. It was crushing. I remember being like, I've been fever free for 12 hours. And then it would like spike at night. And he'd be like, come on, girl. I was like, I know. I
oh
can't.
my God,
It
that's
probably was COVID. Looking
horrible.
back at it, it probably was like
It
just
probably
not
was.
showing up, but it was probably COVID.
Oh my God.
Um, but yeah, but
And
now
then Paige was born. What was the date? It was
she's
August,
August
end of
30th,
August, right? August 30th of 2021.
21.
Yes, they're like basically a year apart. A year
And
apart.
we still have a little frozen embryo,
Uh-huh.
which every question that I get, and listen, people, we all need to just like work on this as like a society. We got to stop
Yes.
asking people when they're going to have like their next babies, right? Like you mentioned
Yep.
that in episode 2. I was going to comment on it. I was going to comment on it here. Um, we have to do better. We just have to do better. It is such a trigger place. I don't know what I want to do, right? Like we've had
Right.
conversations. We're actually just genuinely enjoying when we're not having tantrums, the our daughter and just her development and like just being our little family of 3, but kind of 4 with our pup.
Absolutely.
So
And you have to do what's best for you and your family. And yeah,
yes,
the society and anybody for that matter needs to stop with the asking of the questions. I mean, at this point, it's 2025, people. Mind your own business. I mean, really. Uh,
yeah,
think before
it
you speak.
is.
Thank you so much. Um, and I think it's also hard with like generational questions too. Like, depends on who's asking, right? At this point, I try to forgive older people because they're still stuck in that mindset of like, they just don't get it, but
Totally.
gently say like, no, that's not really polite to ask. I don't know. I don't always have the, you know, courage to say that to somebody, but yeah, it's no one's business.
No,
Um,
it's like redirecting, right? I think that that's the biggest thing is like, how do you then just redirect those conversations to be like, oh,
yes,
thanks for asking, or that's we're taking it day by day. And I think that like some of those, just for any of you out there going through this yourselves, um, don't be scared
hmm,
to say that and to just say like we're taking it day by day.
that's it.
Don't know what the next day is going to bring, because that's truth. We don't know what the
Yeah,
next day is going to bring in life. And so it really is kind of like this fail-safe little um, phrase, right? It just kind of protects us all a
absolutely,
little bit. It protects our peace. It protects our hearts.
absolutely. Well, we have loved listening to your story. Would there be
Mm.
any other words of wisdom, especially as a therapist, which you've already given us so many, but if there are
Oh,
any
I
other
thank
words of
you.
wisdom?
I'm going to say this. Whether you are going through fertility or you are post fertility, you are navigating perinatal challenges or postpartum challenges, I would love for people to practice the pause. That's something I talk
Mm,
to a lot with my clients. Practice the pause. Know when it's okay to say no. Know when it's okay to have an opinion, but pause a little bit and ask yourself, where do I want to put my energy? I think that that's actually something that I try to zoom in on every single day. Where do I want to put my energy? And when I don't know, I practice the pause.
Oh my God, I love that. I am going to use that starting today.
Beautiful.
Wow, that is beautiful. We don't do enough of that.
We don't do enough of it.
Go, go, go. So practice the pause. You
Yeah.
heard that. Coined from Vicky.
Thank you. Okay,
Well,
so now,
our
ah,
last usual end of our episode,
yeah,
our highs and lows.
yes, we'll call them the highs and lows. No rose and thorn here, John. If you guys listened to episode 2, you would know what I was referencing there.
Exactly.
Okay, so highs and lows. My highs would be that I recently survived a camping trip. Oh, I recently survived a camping trip. The low would be that on this camping trip, I went on a water slide, right? Like we went to a water park and we went on a water slide.
Oh my
And
God.
I thought I was so much braver, and I'm not. I am a little chicken when it comes to dips and darkness of like tubes and water
Oh,
slides. Like I was done. So that was my high and my low.
oh my God. Yeah, I'm right there with you on the water slides. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Highs, I would say, was making a spontaneous trip to go see my family this past weekend.
Ugh,
And
I
yeah, it
always miss
was,
her. I always
I
miss her.
know
She
you're
comes back
camping.
to my zone, and I always miss the girl.
Don't worry, I will be back in Connecticut next month at some point.
Oh, good. Good.
But yeah, just spontaneously doing it with my kids. And you know, sometimes my husband and I in the summer, like, we'll split up and we'll do a boys and the girls weekend. And
Oh,
I
it's
kind
the
of really love
cutest.
it. Yeah. And the kids are really great with being in the car and traveling because we're used to going to
Mm-hmm.
Connecticut all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So my highs would be they were awesome. Traveling up on Friday, the rush hour, the traffic and the
Wow.
rush hour, whatever, and we didn't even leave that late. It was like 12:30 to go
Oh,
up to
okay.
Connecticut. It took us almost 4 hours. Oh my
Oh,
God, it was rough. So, but they were amazing. They were awesome in the car. Very, very minor complaining. Um, and so that was a high. And seeing, some of my family. It's always very hard when you go up for a weekend to try and see
sure.
everybody. Because I want to spend time with my mom and my the rest of my family. Let's see. A low. I'm not going to say that I lost my cool again because, as a mom, it's just going to happen sometimes. A
Yeah.
low, I'd say probably feeling a little bit of mom guilt, um, of not spending as much quality time with my kids this week. I mean, we are recording this and it's, Wednesday, so we're only a few days in to the week. But I would say I'm thinking about it. I am, what was the term you just said? Pause,
Practicing the pause.
practicing the pause. So I'm practicing the pause and
There
thinking
we
about my
go.
week, and I'm going to make sure I flip that low the rest of the week. Get in some
Hey,
quality
girl,
time.
that is a great note to end on.
Well, thank you everybody for being here and listening. And of course, we are always open to messages. You can send us a DM on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. You can send us an email, go to our websites. And we're always here to respond to you and listen. And we so appreciate you listening to us. And we will see you on the next episode of
Bye,
Unfertile to
everyone.
Unfiltered.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.